So just to review, yesterday we went over how to create a value scale, and I demonstrated how to do a really basic shape such as a circle to make it look somewhat 3D. That was probably a review for some of you, but maybe not for everyone. And that's all I wanted you to do yesterday, okay? But if you did move on ahead, all right, hopefully you're using the Google Slides as a resource. And what we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to apply our value scales into our image, okay? Just as a reminder, these were some projects when I did this a couple of years ago of students' final results. Okay, the hand that they traced, all right, and they added minimal detail of the nail and the wrinkles. Here's the Kermit the Frog, probably one of my personal favorites because Kermit's awesome. He's just a really good person, right? Or a good frog, if you will. And you can see the lines going through the object and where they completed different value scales within each section. And then, of course, the planet one that I showed you the other day. On this one, she added a pop of color. So later in the week, I'll demonstrate how to do a pop of color with this, probably tomorrow, if that's something that interests you. Of course, if you don't have color, then you won't be able to do that, and that's something hopefully I'll find out too by Friday. Black and white, just in pencil, black, white, and gray is perfectly fine as well. So don't forget, on Friday, Thursday or Friday, today or tomorrow, I'm going to also post on your It's Learning page some sort of survey that asks you what sort of art supplies you have, okay? And that will help me if this continues into next week. Hopefully we'll find out by the end of the day today on Thursday if we're going to continue this, okay, into the following week. So anyways, I did my tulip, okay, and here's my lines going through it, all right. I have a lot of sections, as you can see. Some of my sections are really small, like this area right here. Some of them are quite larger. So I'm going to show you how to get started using the value scales within your project, okay, within each of the sections. So I'm just going to go from dark to light, going from left to right. So I'm going to start with this sort of somewhat triangular section here in my tulip. So I'm going to start off, again, you want to shade in the shape of your object. So this is a triangle shape, and most of my shapes are kind of triangular. So I'm going to start off by doing my darkest value. Okay, and as you can see, I just do it so instinctually. I moved up on my pencil to start to get a more medium value. And I want to rotate my sketchbook so it's a little easier for me to finish this value scale. One of the beautiful things about art is that you don't necessarily have to work from top to bottom and left to right, just like you would in an ELA class or a math class where you might be writing out your problems or an essay. You can rotate your paper however it feels the most comfortable for you or is the easiest. Any of my left-handed people, I see them doing this a lot. It's a lot harder for us as right-handed people to remember to rotate our paper. So look, I have a beautiful value scale in this first section going from dark to light. I got super soft here on the edge. You could even use your eraser to kind of fade it out, if that helps. I think I did a little too much here on the edge. I'm going to add a bit back in. There we go. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind is when you work in your next section, you want to start with the opposite value that's right next to it. So for example, it's super light right here. So what value am I going to start with? Hopefully you said my darkest value. So in this sort of not quite just triangular, it's more rectangular with a curve here, this shape, I'm going to start with another value scale. I hope that when you're watching these videos, you're not just watching them, you're actually following along and completing your assignment, even though it's a different object and different lines and sections, you're completing your assignment as I'm working on mine as well. So I've done like one dark value. I kind of moved up on my pencil here. I did notice that I overlapped and kind of went into the other section, so I want to make sure I clean that line up. Craftsmanship is very important. You want to make sure you're being neat and clean. Like you, I'm human. I go over the lines sometimes. It's not always easy for me to stay in the lines, so I use my eraser a lot, and that's perfectly fine. I'm just going to kind of go over the tip of this petal right here, this leaf. And I'm getting super light now as they go into this edge. So for this one, this section is a little bit odd shaped. So I didn't quite fade out as much as I wanted to. So I would say I ended on a pretty medium value right there. But even though it's pretty medium, I still want to start dark again, right on this section. So I actually have a bigger section right here to complete. So I'm going to start dark in this corner and kind of fade out all the way to the edge here. And that's sort of my plan of action. So I'm going to have a darker section. Since it's such a larger section, my darker area is going to be a little bit bigger, a little bit more. Again, kind of shading in the shape of my objects here, which this is not a normal shape. This is what we call more of a organic shape. Or free form. Okay, now I'm going to start to get my medium values. I hope you guys see this class while you're out this week, not as a burden, but as something enjoyable. This sort of mindless, not quite mindless, because you do need to think about what you're doing, but it's not really difficult. It's just somewhat tedious. This sort of repetition that you're doing as almost a therapy. If you're getting stir crazy while you're at your house, or you just got a lot of other work to do, maybe take a break and work on this a little bit at a time. We're going to probably be working on this through the weekend as well. If you don't finish it by Friday, you might work on it through the weekend, and I'll let you know how you can submit it later, digitally if need be. So I really want to kind of fade out here as light as possible. And if I could tell my hand was getting a little tighter and tired, not and tight. It's also kind of, if your hand is like hurting you, take a break. You know, I definitely have to shake it out. This can really be hard on your hand. It's like when you're learning how to play guitar or something, you develop calluses on your fingers. So you might need to take some breaks. It's kind of the same thing. But you can see where I was getting tired and I left some gaps. I don't have quite a smooth transition, so I want to go back in and smooth some of that out a little bit. Maybe use my eraser here. Kind of fade this out. I think I want to make some of these darker values even darker. Really really putting some pressure in there. I just want to have some nice contrast. You know, contrast is the difference between two things. So I want contrast between this section and this section, so they're really distinguishable. In fact, I think I'm going to come in here and use my pencil to kind of fade that section out. Okay, so let's take a look at it from this direction. Oh, it's starting to look pretty cool. I'm starting to get that illusion that it's shattered. Awesome. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to start with this larger section up here. Okay, it's really dark here, and then it's kind of light here. So I think just to make it a little easier, I'm going to draw a line to kind of break that up more. And so I'm actually going to start darker on this side and then get lighter as I get towards this. So I'm kind of switching it up, which means I need to flip my paper around. Again, move your paper around in whatever direction is the most comfortable for you. So, you know, this is a good thing you could do while you're watching TV. Just have some nice music playing. When we do go back to school, one of the things I do allow students to do is listen to their own music in my class. I find it to be a really great thing to help control some of the noise volume in my classroom, but also too to help us concentrate or just enjoy what we're doing a little bit more, you know, sort of relaxing. I know that I'm always listening to music as I'm cooking or as I'm making art. When we sit at the dinner table, we have music playing in the background. We just love listening to music, all kinds. So again, I'm seeing that this value scale, my hand is definitely getting really tired because I'm getting a little more sloppy with my value scales in here. So I want to come in and kind of clean these up. Again, if you're getting tired, take a break and come back to this later. Now that you know how to do it, and that's the whole point, is you're just kind of practicing these exercises, okay? This is just going to be a formative assignment in case you were wondering, since this is practice. We're going to just grade this as a formative for now. And, you know, next week we can start doing an assignment that can transition into our summative, okay, as we practice the techniques more. But there we go. I'm kind of filling in where I'm seeing some gaps in my pencil marks. I want it to be nice, smooth, blended. Okay. Yeah, this is looking pretty great. So I would say a good goal is to maybe do like a quarter to maybe a third of it today. All right. You know, maybe for like 30 minutes or so. Keep going. 30 more minutes, see what you can get done. And then just get back to it when you get an opportunity the next day. And I'll check in with you then.